Hey everybody, and welcome to Better at Beach. My name is Mark Burik, and I'm here with Brandon Joyner. And today we're going to talk about peak performance and why you probably haven't reached yours yet, and you might not even know where it is. Most people think that it's somewhere in their past, and we are here to completely disagree. So we're going to get into that in just a second, but we got a couple of camp announcements. Punta Cana is happening. It is a 7-day all-inclusive camp with a bunch of our coaches and pros, and tournaments every day, training every day, the most all-inclusive volleyball experience we think you can get. That's happening November 29th to December 5th. And we have upcoming October 31st in Fort Myers, which I think is 2 spots away from being sold out. In Huntington Beach, we're running a 3-hour clinic. So Brandon is going to be heading that up with a couple other coaches. So that's going to be in Huntington Beach, our first trip down there. And November 7th, Brandon's going to be in Virginia Beach as well with our team of coaches. November 14th, we'll be in Dallas, Texas. December 12th in Houston, Texas at Third Coast. We have a women's intermediate 10-spot only camp in St. Pete, Florida, December 19th. January 23rd, we're heading back to Grand Sands Volleyball in Loveland, Ohio. And then February 6th, this is pretty cool. We're going to be at the Phil Dalhouser Academy in Orlando, Florida. And February 13th, we are heading back to Salt Lake City, Utah to check out their new facility, Sandbar's second facility in South Bluffdale. So just outside Salt Lake City, we're going to check out their new spot and run a camp there February 13th. And if you're coming to Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica, Venice, take a look at our website. We have classes just about every day, and you can make a true weekend event of it. One of the cool things we got going on coming up November 9th, I'm running a fitness seminar. So if you are wondering how to work out for volleyball, including technique, reps, sets, and you want to get a full program and you want to get an in-depth explanation on how to use the best technique and how to structure your workouts, it's going to be a 3-hour in-person seminar here in Redondo Beach. But if you come on that Friday night or Saturday morning, you can get 3 hours of classes, then 3 hours of classes on Sunday, then take the 3-hour workout seminar and join our Kings and Queens League on Sunday night. So you could make a whole weekend of it. And that is going to be happening November 8th and 9th. And you can sign up for one or all. You're invited.
Yeah. Something that it's been pretty cool recently in California, specifically, mainly in the Southern California area. We started growing and trying to go to as many different places. We used to limit ourselves to really only Hermosa. But as of recent, I'm putting a lot more energy into coaching in person in California, which has been fantastic. So if you have a group of similar level players and you want me to come work with you guys, shoot us an email, support@betteratbeach.com. I have a men's B group that I'm working with this weekend in Santa Monica. That's how the Huntington event got created, is someone who was coming to our Santa Monica clinics, loved it, and was like, hey, will you come to me? I'm like, sure, let's get the people. And we customize the pricing and situation for you guys, depending on how far it is, how many people we can get, and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're in California, you're in the Southern California area, I would say willing to drive and work with you guys. So just shoot us an email, super easy. And then we just have people sign up, and then we show up and give you guys 3 hours of really cool lessons, drill ideas, a lot of gameplay where coaches hop in and play with you. And then we also throw in some Better at Beach swag with it so that you can rep it on the court. So yeah, exciting things for California right now. It's been cool.
Definitely. And if you're not coming and you still want some swag, you guys got to check out the shop header on our website. We have our Shopify up and running, and we have our slunks or bubblegum slunks design up on that site. So if you're a slunks head, go ahead and get your gear. And we have a few other cool things that you can get from there. But today we're
Real
talking.
quick, Mark,
Oh,
before we
what
get
else
into
you got?
that, I just want, like, one of my favorite things about this, the podcast, the YouTube channel, the Instagram, is whenever we're out, especially if we're at a volleyball tournament, a lot of people like come up and say hi to us. We absolutely love that. Please come say hi. We're always surprised of when people recognize us and like come up and say hi and thank you for the videos. Keeps us going. This past weekend, I went to the F1 race in Austin, which was crazy. One of the biggest sporting events I've ever been to. Never been to an F1 race. Check it out. It was super exciting. And I was there and I was like, I even had a thought at one point. I was like, all right, this is going to be the event that I don't see another volleyball player. Sure enough, 30 minutes later, I'm walking around and someone screams out like, better at beach. And it was like a couple that just moved to Austin, some people in San Diego that recognized us. And then I got home and I got another DM that was like, hey, I saw you at turn one. You were just too far away.
No way.
And so it's so cool that, like, one, that we have people that consistently watch and tune in. That keeps us going. And then when you guys do say hi, it makes us happy. So keep that up.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see those people and just kind of have that volleyball world inside of another event, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. I am always surprised by how many people actually listen to or watch this podcast. Because I keep getting DMs, especially from coaches who want to come and coach at our camps or train as a coach. We're getting constant reach outs, and now our coach list for camps is like 40 people deep, which is pretty sick. But it takes a lot to be able to coach for us and run camps and run a court. So the process is always come and volunteer at a camp. All right. If we know you personally, that's different. We know your coaching background. We've worked with you in person, know how you work with people, but it's always the process is more or less come and volunteer at a camp. Let us see how you operate. Then if that goes well and your coach education is there, if it's not, then you can take our online coach academy course. If it is, then we'll move you up to be a court coach where you can get paid. And then after a minimum of 7 camps like that, then we can move you to potentially leading your own Better at Beach camps as the head coach or lead coach. So if you're interested in that, I keep getting DMs from people who are listening to the podcast. So thank you guys. Super cool. So we're in New York and cool again. I got another FDNY guy. He used to run the FDNY volleyball team, and I think it was maybe 60 years old, came to our camp, and he came to our camp with his son, both really cool guys. And he said something in a private conversation that I thought was, man, it hit hard. And I had to like re-announce it at the camp. But he said, guys like my age, they all talk about like not going to a camp or not going to a place where they can get better because like, oh man, I'm after my peak. And he goes, and I just thought that was complete BS, because if you didn't put in the years and the time at full speed, full energy, full intent in your 20s and 30s, where your athletic peak is supposed to be, because if you didn't do that at that time, you have no idea where you can peak. Mm-hmm. He's like, most people, if they didn't put in that time, their peak is going to be whenever they want to put in the most energy to learning. And so just because you're not 18 to 35 anymore, that is not the only thing that says whether you've reached your peak or not. Maybe you had a job, maybe you had a career, maybe you had other things going on, or maybe you just discovered volleyball super late. And so your peak can be very far ahead of you and not behind you, like most people get into that mindset. And we got one of our one-on-one players here staying in Hermosa this week, and he's an open player. decided that this was going to be his year to see how far he could get. His business is successful, but it's stabilized. So he's like, I got the time. Kids are old enough. I'm ready to dedicate, more to this. And so he's come to, I think, 6 camps, and they're all free after the one-on-one program. So he can sign up for anyone he wants. And he's gotten to the level now where, first of all, he just kind of decided to drop 80 pounds. And he's fully into the workout programs that we provide in the online courses. So he's doing that, and he comes to the meetings every week, and we do our one-on-ones together. And he's dropped weight. His strategies have gotten better. His skills have gotten better. And he's one of those guys who comes to the camp as an open player, and he goes, I don't understand why anyone at any level would turn this down, because like the amount of reps and feedback that you can get, even if you're better or worse than the person next to you, like you're there to absorb all of the information from the coaches. And so he goes, every single camp I come to, I walk away with something else. And so now I think he's 37, 38. And at the last camp, me and Matt and Logan were the only coaches there. And Jasmine, but Jasmine didn't want to play 2-on-2 after the camp. And we said, hey, James, want to practice with us? Want to get in the coaches practice? Mm-hmm. And he held his own, and him and Logan beat me and Matt, so like my own player that I'm coaching beat me. And then when he came to Hermosa, he's like, hey, I'd like to use one of our privates for in person. And so I recruited a couple open guys for him. And then I shot a text to Logan, who had one of those days in between training. He's like, yeah, I'd love to get out and get 2 hours of reps. And so now James has had 4 hours of direct training with and against Logan Weber. And he just keeps getting better and improving and improving. And, you hear the stories about guys like John Hayden. He's like, well, Hayden was 50 in a finals, right? And there's like a ton of these players who are in their 40s and still crushing it. So not to play the comparison game, but he's like, yeah, this is my time to see how good I can get. And he's playing better volleyball than he ever has, and just putting that full-time energy.
Yeah. And I think, because I don't know what the age range is, but I know that I heard it a couple times, especially when I was playing, is like, one, I think for contact sports, your peak, or when you feel like you're playing your best ball, is certainly younger than when you're playing beach volleyball. Beach volleyball there's no contact, not much at least, unless you run into a partner or something like that. But the terminology and the conversation, it does need to change, because we're consistently at the point now where we're seeing athletes break that barrier, and obviously it's easy to talk about the big names, LeBron James, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Steph Curry, like all these huge names that are breaking the mold of how long can a pro player play. But really, the science has just improved so much with health. The conversation of health has become something that is prominent in every single household, which is amazing. And yeah, I think when we were briefly talking about this beforehand, it's more about how hard are you willing to push to chase those goals, and like my peak is completely different from your peak. And it's just a matter of what are you trying to accomplish? Okay, now that we have that goal, let's set up some ideas, some reachable tasks and consistency with our training and our health in order to get closer to it. So I think it's really cool. And the sport of beach volleyball is like I remember a couple of my first tournaments, I was playing with Hudson in Virginia Beach, and we were 2 pretty top tier indoor volleyball players that moved to the beach. And at this point, Hudson was playing AVPs and I was kind of just getting out on the sand, but we lost to like a couple players and like high 40s and 50s. And at the end of the match, of course, Hudson and I were like a little embarrassed, but also like looking back on that now, I'm like, it's pretty cool that that can happen, you
Yeah.
know? So like somebody who is reaching that 50, 60 mark with the right game plan, with the right strategy, with being in shape, you can compete with these 18-year-olds because like it is one of those sports where knowledge and strategy can go a long way. So
Yep.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you look at other sports and, we kind of like measure against other sports, but when you try to measure against basketball, against football, baseball, where there are these max contact, um, max velocity at all times, things that produce injuries. I still remember one of the lines in a college textbook that that said elite athletics are not healthy, nor are they recommended. And pushing your body to the edge of its capacity at all times, especially with like hard contacts, hard grounds, stopping and starting on your joints with other people in your way. That's different. And that's why you're not going to see NFL guys who aren't quarterbacks or kickers or, maybe the occasional center or long snapper. Like you're not going to see them past 30 because the injuries just keep building up and they can't sustain that. But with volleyball, you don't have that. And it's so much easier to maintain your body as a beach volleyball player if you just do the right things.
Mhm.
You don't have to worry about so much of that impact and joint degradation or anything like that. Of course, it's going to have an effect, but most people, it has a bigger effect just because they're not doing the little things on their own before they play and taking care of their body. They're treating volleyball as their only exercise instead of prepping their body to actually compete.
I got a quick question for you. This is throwing on the spot, so hopefully, I'm not sure if you remember. I can remember for me personally, but um, did you ever have a point in your career where you kind of felt like you plateaued and like were kind of questioning, like, is this it? Or, and then was there a way, like, did you find a next level and what do you think got you to that next level?
I think the plateau feeling came at minimum twice a year.
Wow, very
um,
consistent.
where you're like, because when it's your full time, like your days can feel like months.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing like in the business or the back end of stuff. Like anytime we change something or announce a new camp or a new training program, it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, well, what's happening with it? Why isn't it, why isn't it going? Why isn't it popping off? And that same thing happens in sport where you try to make a change, you get a new piece of knowledge, but it takes a while for that to settle in, become natural, and for you to then start gaining points. Some pieces of feedback, it's like immediate points that you can win. There are several coaches that I worked with where after one session, whether it was on a couch watching video or in person, it just turned into points immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But um, the plateau feeling will always come. Number one, if you're training every day, like if you're going full for it, that's just the nature of consistency. Same thing with workout programs. If you're trying to lose weight, it's not like you go to the gym for 1 week and you've dropped 20 pounds. That has to build. And sometimes even when you're losing weight and you start a weight training, people experience this weight gain where they're like, this is not working. And it goes, no, you actually just now have a higher percentage of muscle. And now that muscle over the next few months and years is going to eat more calories because it takes more energy to sustain muscle than fat. And all of the fat will then disappear. So if we can translate that into like volleyball court, you might get some skills that are there, they're built in, but they need time to marinate with the rest of your game. And so those like single changes that you're making when every day feels like a month, which happens if you're training a lot, just need that patience with yourself to let a new skill or a new strategy marinate until you can put it exactly in its place where it belongs.
Yeah. And I think the obvious answer there is like, all right, find someone to help, right? Like,
Always.
I've heard that from you a bunch where it's like, okay, I thought I could do it on my own. Then I was like, okay, I have my coach at practice. Now let's watch some film. And those easy points start to come with something that's like, it's almost like an obvious, like bonehead kind of answer where you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you find that next layer.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it was pretty crazy. Like I've always been pretty good at working out. I would say with our college background and the group of guys that we were surrounded with while we were in school, working out hard was never an issue. Like we were always good at pushing ourselves. And then when I moved out here and I started working out with you, and we developed a 60-day max program, we have the mobility challenge, we have all these different workouts. And when I started doing specific volleyball workouts, I was like, oh, maybe I do have another level, you know? So, because I think I went through it in indoor where I was like, you know what? I think I'm at my peak. I think I've kind of done everything that I could. I'm playing at a level that I'm happy with. But really, what that meant was at this point of my life in the indoor volleyball world, I'm not willing to push hard enough to get to that next level. There was another level there,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, all right, is it worth the time? Is it worth all the hard work that I'm going to have to do? And for indoor volleyball, I had decided where I was like, you know what, it's not the case. You know, then I moved to the beach, and when I moved out here and I was coaching, I was like, you know what, feel okay. I'm all right playing in these tournaments, but I had set my expectations, and then it was like you might get into a couple main draws if the cards go your way, kind of thing. And then when I started working out and I found that next level and I felt how comfortable I was moving on the sand just from these basic workouts, I was like, all of a sudden now my expectations changed, and now I realized that it was like, okay, you're not close to your peak. Like
Mm-hmm.
you still have some time to go, you know. And I think that that's a really, like, when we have this conversation about peaks, it's a lot of it has to do with you just changing your mindset and realizing, okay, what is this goal and how do I attain it? If you can do it by yourself, cool. But we've had this talk before, that time has for a lot of us has come and gone. So that's where we come in, is like, hey, let us know your goals, and then we'll kind of put you on the path in order to get there.
Yeah.
Um, I had there was one conversation. I don't know if you remember this. My freshman year, so I think it was your senior year at Mason. We had a high school team come to our game, and after the game, we sat in the crowd with the high school kids, and Fred gave a chat. And one of the questions that he asked was, he was like, "How many of you guys have been told that you have potential?" You
Oh,
remember this talk?
yep.
And like everyone raised their hand, you know. And at this point, I was a freshman, so like I was still being told that I had potential. And then after everybody raised their hand, Fred was like, "All right, I'm not saying this in a mean way, but at some point, having potential is a bad thing, you know, because it means that you
It's like an
haven't quite,
insult.
yeah, it's an insult because you haven't been willing enough at this point in time to put in that extra work to become something more than potential, you know." And I think that that hit me so hard. And it was kind of funny because, like, in the crowd, I'm already wearing the Mason gear, but I still had these. I wanted to be on the court. I had a couple setters in front of me, and where I was like, man, am I ever gonna like take their spot? But the second I heard that, I don't know what it was, but a switch flipped in my mind where I was like, okay, nobody's gonna say that you're potential anymore. Like
Mm.
they're going to say that you did it, that you are the player that they thought you could be, if not more. Um, and that took me, like, when I would go into work out If it said three sets of 8 reps, I would do 3 sets of 10. Um, just because I knew that if I was willing to put in that extra work, that was going to get me across that line. Um, yeah, and I think that that's a really cool way to think about it if you're not too bad at like putting yourself down. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where you and I have lived our whole lives. Like, no, don't be a wimp. Like, you got this. But yeah, that idea is like, the age doesn't matter. It's just a matter of, are you willing to do the work and get the help in order to do it? Because I think everyone can do it. We might have to reevaluate your short-term goals versus long-term goals and stuff like that, but the possibility is there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. How fast can you get rid of the word potential?
Right.
And then you also have to realize, just again, just to say it one more time, if you didn't go as hard as you possibly could, you have no idea where you can land if you put in the time, the knowledge, and then get the help and get the reps.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a fun way, and we see that from people who have started late, people who got into the game late. Like, listen, Dustin Watton, who's the was the indoor national team libero. Like, didn't he get back on the national team when he was like 30?
Yeah.
Grinding it out like overseas, getting some good contracts, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but then like he had to come where most people are getting those invites out of college, and that's the potential. And if you don't get the invite out of college, you're done. But then you also see Riley Salmon from the 2008 gold medal Olympics. He was picked up when he was 25 or 26 at indoor nationals. Like, not college, not that whole pipeline, but they're like, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And he came out and was the absolute like clutch role player for that gold medal team. And so you never know when it's going to happen for you. Ryan Doherty at 28, um, came out to the AVP, and yeah, 7 foot helps, but passing and setting absolutely need to be there. There's nothing that 7-1 is going to do if you can't pass and set. So
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it comes down to curiosity too. I think especially with the people that we work with a lot of adults. Be curious about what your body can do and be. Like, something that I admire about you is, after you stopped playing and you had Mackenzie and you had a family, I could see this shift in your mind where it was like, okay, volleyball was cool and I enjoyed that chase and I enjoyed everything about it. But now that I have a kid and I have a family, I want to be the best person, best version of myself that I can be. And saw a lot of changes, your workout regimen, your diet, which, living with Janelle and the way that she
cheat
cooks
code. Yeah.
is great. But also, like, you stop drinking, and like you gave yourself like these little tests in order to feel and reach your optimum body health and output. And I think that that's such a cool thing that everybody should try to do. Like, that's one of the reasons when I decided to step away from volleyball. I am now doing Ironmans, and it one of the main reasons for that was, I was like, you know what, like, I'm okay being a coach in volleyball. That's where my passion is. That's where my heart is. I want to do that. But I'm also still so curious about what my optimal, like, potential is. There's that word again. But for myself, and I want it to be something that I chase forever. So it's I think it's really cool. One of my buddies wrote a book that's I Get To, and I think that terminology is really cool. Chris Cullen on Amazon, I Get To, really cool book. But yeah, just changing your wording and saying, like, oh, do I have to work out? No, you don't have to, but you get to. You get to
Yeah.
work out. You get to chase that, like, optimal feeling and optimal health. And I mean, we only get this life, so it's worth chasing. It's cool. It would be really cool for everyone to figure out that answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of us we go through life not knowing what that answer is. So,
And just from the AVP as well, I wonder how many careers have flopped or stagnated due to the not willing to pay for a coach aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got to feed yourself. If you're still going to players' parties, but you're not paying for a coach, you're an idiot. Like, or you've got different goals, or you're just
complaining
confused
about not getting the partners that you want.
Yeah,
all of those things.
Although I did get Jeremy Casebeer after a bad loss hanging out in a bar, and that's when we went to Australia. We chose at that bar to go to Australia together.
Hey, socializing is never bad. We're okay with socializing. Just got to have a reason, you gotta have your why.
But yeah, how many players could be so significantly better, especially on the AVP? If coaching were provided at scale for free by like USA Volleyball, or if they chose to pinch a couple more pennies and dedicate it to a coach. And there's somebody, Christy Jenkins, who played for Australia for a little bit. She was an elite gymnast forever. And when she found volleyball, her number one thing was, who's the best coach? I'm going to find them. I'm going to live with them, move to whatever city they're in and do that, because that's what gymnastics people are like trained to do. Like in gymnastics, it's you have to find the best training academy and the best coaches, period. So she carried that mindset into volleyball. And then she started taking third, seconds, first on the Australian national tour, within 3-4 years. Like, okay, yeah, she's athletic, but she made the immediate right moves. So if you're out there wondering what your potential is, or you think you've passed it, we're here to prove you wrong. So go for it. Give yourself some training time. Find a good workout program. See if you can get in training groups with better players and stop just playing, but actually try to improve something. Check out a bunch of our videos on YouTube and actually apply them in and out. Again, they're videos. They're not coaching to an individual. So any video, we're talking to a mass audience. And I'll go into camps and I'll say something completely opposite to certain individuals that I might have said in a video or a reel, just to get them to a different place in their spectrum of skills. And so that's where the individual coaching thing actually comes from, because you can learn a lot from videos, but at some point there's a huge advantage to having somebody watch you specifically, and see if what you're trying to do, if you're actually applying the things or you just think you are. And there's a lot with sports, so never know. So that's it. That's our episode for today.
That's good.
Yeah. You guys have not passed your peak. Your peak is in front of you. It's just waiting for you, and it's time to get rid of your potential.
Yeah. It was created by somebody who felt like they got to a point where they weren't willing to push anymore. That's what when somebody says that they reached their peak, it means they reached their mental peak of wanting to participate. It doesn't mean that they missed their physical peak. I strongly agree with that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hope you guys like this short episode. Gonna head to our online program and work with our online athletes, who we are wrapping up our Ultimate Defender course. And this is the last week of Mobile October. And we are getting into a squad unit of our 60-day max vertical. So on November 2nd, that's going to be the last day to sign up, but we're getting a big community of people who are going to go through 10 weeks of physical training together at the same time. Everybody's measuring their stats and taking their assessments, measuring vertical, broad jump, sprint, and agility speed times, as well as some mobility tests. And then at the end of those 10 weeks, everybody's going to have their after pictures and measurements. And so far, out of close to 2,000 people who have taken that that workout program and have reported their stats. We've got about 4.5 inch of vertical improvement from being on the right program, opening up your body and seeing what you do. So I invite you guys to that. We're going to have signups all over the website. And if you're not on our email list, we've got the links below this podcast. So make sure that you're on our email list so that you can join up and do the full 10-week workout program with us. And then we're going to run it again right after January. So people will reload and then add some more physicality for the preseason.
Yeah, and I know a lot of our listeners that are in the U.S., you just finished your season. My biggest suggestion for you is don't hibernate. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep until February, March, whatever it is. Keep what you have. Even if you don't have access to a gym, to sand and sand courts and stuff like that, now's when we can build up muscle, we can build up quickness, we can build up all those things. We have a bunch of drills that you can do that aren't even on the sand, but the more you hold on to this off season, I know I was guilty of it. I was like, oh, new year, new me. I'm going to get it going. No, now's the new season, new you. That season starts right now. So keep it going.
Cool. All right, guys. Hope you liked the episode. Reach out to us if you want to chat. We're open. And we will see you on the sand.